guys, it don red for INEC and APC. The truth about 2023 presidential election is coming out gradually. Sola Adeyegbe has come out to tell Nigerians what went wrong on 25th of February during the 2023 presidential election. Guys, watch this video and hear things from the horse's mouth, and don't forget to share your thoughts with us.
At first, we were told that the Bvas and the IRA is supposed to be a rigging vaccine. But all of a sudden, people are beginning to see that technology played the fast one on all of us, or they oversold technology to us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bati Rufai.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a privilege to be here to discuss this very important issue of the Bvas and the IRA, which has been a topical issue since that election. Because before then, we were told as Nigerians that this, as you said, the Bvas and IRA would revolutionize how we conduct elections in Nigeria. It should be a game changer, we are told. So, it was an anticlimax when the day came for it to be tested, and what we found was that people were disappointed that there was no upload. That was the major issue with it. But I'm here today to take this privilege that you've given me to educate our people. Perhaps if we go through the law and the regulations that guides INEC, then we might understand more about it and be able to assess what has really happened on February 25 of this year, and come to be able to make our own decisions on how to take it. So I would like to pull up for our viewers the slides I have prepared with the first one. So I'll be speaking to Nigerians on how the Bvas works and its role in election integrity. The next slide, please. You see, where were we before now? The first laws of election came in the year 2002, and it took 20 years to get to where we are today. Before now, it was all an issue of, we have a data, we have the list of voters, and let's say in a polling unit now, there's 1,000 names there. And even if only 100 people show up, eventually some people who are that minded will be able to stuff that box with names like up to 900 names from the list, because they have the list with them, and they will say those ones are voted. So there is always incidents of overvoting. Civil servants were used as the officers of, to do the polling work, and we saw where that led us. Mass rigging and all that. So came the year 2022. This new law introduced some technology into our voting system, and that is where the Bvas comes in. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So what does Bvas do? It plays only two roles. One is it accredits the voters, and two, it uploads the results of the election to the INEC's IREV. Bvas is not IREV. Bvas is a machine that is used to accredit voters. It also helps us to upload that result into the IREV, which is the viewing instrument that INEC gives all of us as Nigerians to follow the results of the election. This data I'm showing you here is a random one from Delta State that gives you a bird's eye view of what Bvas has done. Let's go to just the year 2019. For there, Ethiop West local government had a list of voters of 62,000 people. Ika North had 67,000, and Warri Southwest has 139,000 people on the list. But this year in February, with the Bvas accrediting voters, that same Ethiopia that had 62,000 people now had 5,403. Ika North now reduced from 67 to 16,000 people. And amazingly, Warri Southwest, 139,000 people to 3,183 people. That is one big effect of the Bvas machine. So we have integrity now when it comes to those who vote. Because of what reason? Before you are allowed to go near that polling unit, you must present your PVC, and without that, you can't even vote. And once you have now voted, the Bvas records you as having voted. You are the only ones who are now in the list of voters for that polling unit. Nobody can now come later to add one more name. If the polling officer, when he is counting the ballot papers, discovers just one number above what the Bvas has recorded as the people who have showed up, the PO by law must cancel the election of that polling unit. It is that serious for us. So that is how the Bvas works. For now, let me stop there. Maybe you have other questions to ask me.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about Delta State. You're saying the reduction in the number of voters is as a result of the Bvas effect. Well, what if there are other factors involved? There was violence in Delta State. There was voter suppression, as was the case in other parts of the country. So to say it was Bvas, which in fact did not work in many places, would be a very difficult argument to sell. However, the question that I think concerns many Nigerians is that, okay, INEC promised to use Bvas and use IREF. They even used the phrase real-time. They would transmit results to the viewing portal. But INEC did not say so. What exactly does the law say? Does the law anywhere state that INEC must use technology? Or what the law says, in the Electoral Act specifically, is that INEC can determine its own mode of transmitting results. The law, does it say real time? I don't think it says so. If we look at Section 68, Section 148, and all of that. So why do you think Nigerians are insisting that, INEC failed to transmit, when the law does not expressly say you can even use technology?
Yes. And that is why we need to educate ourselves, because whatever has happened today, also, as we have seen it happen, we also have to understand it aright. And that, to me, is why I'm even here at all. What does the regulation and the law say? And what really happened on that election day? The law says that on voting, on the end of voting, the polling officer has to transmit that result to the collation center of INEC. He must upload it by Bvas to IREF for all to see. He must take, number 3, he must take the Bvas and the election results to the ward, and from there to local government, from local government to the state, and from the state to the national, if it's presidential election, to the national collation centers. Before that is done, you sign that Form EC8A. The polling officer of INEC will sign it. The reps, the agents of parties will sign it and take copies for themselves, which they are expected to also transmit to their own situation room in their offices. Then we move to the word. What does the law now say about where you collect and the word? The regulation says you use the document from the last place. The last place is the polling unit. And the last document is the Form EC8A that's been signed by all parties and the police, the agents of the parties, and the INEC officer.
And all of that is manual.
All of that is manual. It's on a paper. It's a hard copy. Now, you get to the word, you now sort it out. You collect. The law says you actually use that hard copy. You are not using the IREF, the one on the IREF at all. In fact, Section 91 to 93 of the regulation of INEC says that if the INEC officer does not have that original copy with him, INEC should look at the IREV. That's the secondary evidence they will look at. It goes further. If the one on the IREV is not also there, so it foresees that it may not be there as well, then the INEC will use the photocopies of what is with the agents of the parties or the police for the collation. In other words, it is the Form E-C-8A that forms the building block of collation, not even the IREV. That is why when the agents are there in that meeting of the INEC in the ward, local government, state and national levels, agents will be asked, are you okay with what is being read out? We say yes, and we move to the next place. So it is the original paper that is used. We are not yet talked about at what is called electronic voting. The Bvas has done a good thing of accreditation of voters. At least it reduces the issue of overvoting. It also, to that extent, it has done wonders. Even in this election, it did wonders in both the presidential one and the subsequent ones we had. For uploads, important as it is not the only way to checkmate whoever wants to manipulate results. Indeed, what has happened today is that people have shown that many documents on the IREV are rubbish. You can post even pictures of birds and flowers onto the IREV. How do you show that is what is on the IREV is false? It's still a reversion to the hard copy with you. So it is that hard copy that is the key, that is the test, really, of what is genuine. And really and truly, parties have the answers to the results of the elections by Sunday morning, because their agents would have sent that original paper from EC8A to them. So they have the answer to this result.
Oh, sorry to come in. Then why did INEC go to Chatham House, went everywhere to say the IREV will work? And second question, why was the transmission easy for the Senate and House of Reps election, but only the presidential election was not right? So why did you do 2 out of 3? Why was only this presidential election?
Yes.
And why did INEC tie the IREV, as a secondary body to be able to store information on? Because in the case where you don't see it, and based on what you said, I remember, I think there was a dispute in one of the states in the north, and one of the electoral officers was saying, okay, we'll go check the IREV, what was posted on the IREV. So if you can put that out, then why did you put it out there without using it?
Yes, thank you very much, Rufai. Let us make it clear to Nigerians today that it is not as if INEC did not upload. The upload started on the day of the elections. It was just late. The first...
no, they didn't upload until about
10 p.m.
10 p.m.
10 p.m. on that
so
day.
there was no upload. So
upload started about 10 o'clock.
So let's get it right. There was no, because what they were saying was, as elections were happening, upload ought to be going on, as polling units were coming, but upload didn't start until 10 p.m.
In fact, I've seen a video where the INEC chairman said they will upload real time.
So why was that not
I also
done?
heard other officials say they will upload live.
Yes. Because other uploads were going on live. Senatorial was being uploaded live.
Yeah.
House of Rep was being uploaded live.
What really happened?
So why presidential?
Their own explanation has been that they had a glitch.
And the technical glitch that didn't affect the Senate, Senatorial,
Oh, yes.
and the House of Rep.
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm not here to defend INEC at all. I'm here, like I said before when I started, to educate Nigerians that even if anyone wants to play a prank on us in that regard, if even anyone, whether it's INEC or whatever party it is, wants to play a fast one on Nigerians to say, don't even upload at all. I'm saying that the Bvas alone and the Bvas alone, what it has done in terms of accreditation of voters is already a check on overvoting. That's number one. And the fact that parties have access to the copy of the election results from the polling unit. You see, power now belongs to the people of Nigeria because the power is now flowing from the polling units, from those 176,000 polling units across Nigeria. That's where people are deciding the fate of who becomes the next governors of Nigeria. We should take this into our hands. The 93 million people who have been given official PVCs, if the 7 million people took their PVCs into their hands, only a few showed up. Of those 7 million people who have PVCs collected, 70 million are youths from age 15 to 40. They should have come out. Who are the people who are managing the polling units? Youths. Who are the people helping those polling officers? They are NYC people, youths. They have a say, and I'm calling them out now that please, in forthcoming elections, youth should play their role well. They should come out and vote and exercise their rights. But even, like I go back to what I was saying before, if anyone should want to even truncate uploads, the original from EC8A remains invaluable. Indeed, INEC is not to use the IREV uploads for collation by their law and regulation. They should use only the hard copy from EC8A, which they did, so they actually complied with their laws. It took them many days to upload. The law didn't say they should upload real time or put a time limit to it. They still did it eventually. So they also again did what they should do, only that it was late, due to what they said was a glitch. So how do we rate INEC? We should look at that from AC8A, which they used.
With the mutilations and the contritions on the forms? If you do that,
you know what happens to you? You'll be in jail because the parties themselves are signatories to those forms, and they are there every step of the way. They are there at the ward, they are there at the local government, they are there at the state, and they are there at the National Collation Center. You see, that is why Jonathan in 2015 could put a call to President Buhari to say congrats. You know why? Because he knew the result right from the second day of the vote, of the poll. So today, the parties know it also.
Mr. Adeyegbe, all these things we've been referring to, Bvas, from ECHA, IREF, back server, these were issues in the Osun case, both at the level of the tribunal and also at the level of the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal in the Osun case, in the Adeyegbe case, said that, look, the respondents in this instance, Oyetola and the PDP, that they relied on the back-end server of INEC. And the court ruled that, look, the primary source is what you need, which is the Bvas and the voters register. Are we saying the same thing?
Indeed, we
Can
are.
we use the Osun case to further illustrate? Maybe it will be easier for people to understand.
You see, I also heard it that I'm not a technical person, but I know from what I've heard from technical people, the Bvas machine, when it is recording the people who have come to vote, who are being accredited, when it is on like a quiet mode, let's say 150 people have come to vote, and by the time the Bvas has recorded 100 people, bless you, Rufai, and it goes into a sleep mode at 100, but 150 eventually were accredited. If you go into the server of INEC to say, print me those people who have who have voted, you will be printed, given a printout that will show 100 names. By the time you put back on the Bvas to refresh it, the 150 names will come up. And that will now solve the issue of the discrepancy between 100 and 150, because you will see that 150 people actually had their ballots in that box, but the report you got from INEC shows there are 100 people who have been accredited. You now say, that's overvoting by 50. But that is easily resolved again by technology of this same Bvas to resolve it for you. And that is why today we had the decision of court eventually in what happened in Osun State. So really and truly, when you look at how the Bvas works, it has done well. For the presidential elections, it failed us in the second leg of what it should do, which is the upload, because it didn't do it fast enough. But for accreditation, it still worked very well. And for the second leg of, and again, the upload is not the validation of results, because that is the impression being created out there. The impression Nigerians have is that upload is seen as what validates the election, whereas the purpose of the upload is for information and record keeping of INEC.
Is that information? Not validation?
Information of Nigerians, because when you have voted at the polling booths, you get home or to any location.
Because in the, I now remember the statement, in the Adamawa case, there's some local governments that they have, it was the Bvas they referred to.
Yes. It's what they call is bimodal.
So is that not still validation?
Fantastic.
In the Adamawa case, it was used for validation.
I agree totally. It can be used. It can be used for validation. It can be used for cross-checking. It can be used for information. But it does not validate, actually. It's not the validation issue. You know why it's not validation? Because INEC does not even use it for collation. It is the original Form ECHA that is used, not the one on the IRF. No, not at all.
Okay, I want to bring up other issues so that we go beyond the Bvas. This Bvas, we spent many months on it with Mike Igbine on this same program. But now it's election petition season. INEC says it's going to spend about 3 billion to prosecute election petitions, over 100 already. INEC said it spent over 300 billion on the election. But some lawyers are even saying 3 billion is very small money. And we joke that it's chop time for lawyers, election petition lawyers. Anyway, that's not where I'm going. I'm going to the timelines. Election petitions, yes, they are complex, they are contentious, but there are specific timelines under Section 285 of the Constitution. Now, some people are saying that is a problem because it creates an opportunity for people to be encouraged to rig elections. And that's why we keep hearing everybody say, just win by any means. Once you have won, election petitions are sui generis. It will be difficult to take that certificate of return from you. Yeah. So some people are arguing that, okay, if that is the case, is it possible to do something about that Section 285 so that, you just leave it open. You don't say, as the law says, that you cannot extend beyond the 180 days. What do you think? Some people are also saying, however, the petitions should be determined before inauguration so that the electorate is not presented with a fait accompli. If a man is elected president, he's already been sworn in, he has established his cabinet, he's already running fake meeting, and then the case is going on in court. After the 180 days, you now say, oh, leave the office. That's why people say, don't bother. Election petitions in Nigeria, we have not really worked out the jurisprudence. But what do you think?
I think that we should strive to settle all petitions before inauguration, especially when it concerns the presidency. Because after being sworn in, the person becomes an incumbent. And the power of incumbency can never, ever be underrated. For that reason alone, I will support the Justice Way's report that also suggests something like that we should strive to settle all petitions before inauguration. That should be best practice, not allow it to spill away. Because even this one that we have now, you can still appeal and have two more months to determine appeal on the 180 days. So that is a bit too long.
So you are saying that many of the people who have gone to tribunals, they are at a disadvantage in terms of fair hearing because the law creates that situation.
The law only gives you the upper limit. And we should get to the point in Nigeria where we should do what is right. If I was told to be here for a 10 o'clock program. I got here for 9 because I know that if anything may change, you may also say, look, I'm ready for you now. Or anything else can just happen. I should be here to rest and relax before the program. So if I'm given as adjudicator 180 days, I don't have to wait for 180 days to decide. I can decide in a month. I can decide in 30 days. Because the issues are going to be quite clear. They're in writing. The petitioner will state his own case. The respondents will state their own case. And you look at it and decide. Look at the case law, look at the arguments, and then decide. You don't have to wait until the last day. You should best practice to do what is right within time. Within, not at the extreme. Even the people who are also making their own cases also waited. They are given 21 days or so to file.
Yes, they waited till the last
day. Why should you do that?
No, but that was because they didn't give them the chance to be able to, inspect the materials. And remember how that went. That was also because even to serve the people involved was problematic, that they even had to go get an expertise to be able to serve them. We all know all of that going on. But the question I'd like to ask you is, are we not opening an invitation for violence and anarchy in our electoral process? If with all of these loopholes now, we've been able to establish the fact that, and like politicians say, the best thing for them is to win at all costs. And they know that when they go to tribunal, because it is the burden of proof is on the person taking you to tribunal, it's almost difficult to overturn. So they do everything, including violence, to kill and win at all costs. Is that not subversion of the electoral will of the people? Yeah. So are we not setting a bad precedence? Because if that's the case, some people will argue that not anybody has a monopoly of violence. Is that the society where we ought to be building, or we ought to be building a society of transparency?
Okay, you see, let me just address that question by saying that the laws themselves do not guarantee compliance. The human beings themselves are the ones who do that. The United Kingdom has what we call an unwritten constitution, but it's still being followed by people that we call honorable people. Now, you can have 1 million laws, you can have tons and tons of electoral laws. If you're not willing to follow it, if you're always thinking of how to subvert it, you will actually succeed because that's your intention, even from day one. So from the drafters to the people who are going to implement it, they are thinking of how to circumvent it. So we must all address the individual in Nigeria. Do I want good for my country? Am I willing to be that good Nigerian who want to make things work? Without that, nothing will work. So what we have today is actually great law. The electoral law today is great. The Bvas is great. The IREV is great. The fact that parties have photocopies from the polling units and they can scan it with their phone to their own situation room is great. By that same evening, by midnight that day, you have the result in your hands. If you have able people working for you. So it works.
Some people will say that if you are not forced under duress to even sign the sheet in the first place.
Again, how many can you do? Out of 176,000 polling units in Nigeria. You can do that. You can do that. You can win. Then you'll be caught. People will tape you. People will record you. It will be seen. And we saw many of them today. In Rivers State, Mr. Peter came to the station to showcase such nonsense that people put on IREV. It will be seen that, you see, many people don't know yet this Bvas and the IREV, how they work. I give it 2 more election rounds. All that will stop because they will know that it is futile. If you do it, you will be found out.
No, people are getting away with it.
They can't get away with it.
Okay.
Well, it's not everybody that believes that everything is great about our electoral process. Since it's now post-election and we're dealing with petitions, 1, under election petitions, you are required to just demonstrate that there has been substantial compliance. Will you say that in this election, there has been substantial compliance? 2, the presumption of regularity is structured in favor of the Electoral Commission, INEC. This same INEC that people are protesting and condemning and saying that INEC dropped the ball. Will you say that that is fair in determining election petitions? And 3, the burden of proof. Some people are saying, look, the burden of proof on the petitioner is too heavy. Why not ask INEC to come and prove that he's able to do well? So there are persons who have raised such questions. So to that extent, will you say that everything is great with the process?
Thank you very much. I want to reiterate the fact that we should look at the individual. When I say great, 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 I'm not meaning to pander to anybody, INEC or whoever, but to say that the regulation, I'm a lawyer and I'm talking about the regulation actually. The regulation and the law itself is what I'm saying, I'm extolling as well thought out, as great. But the operators, INEC and other players may not be that great or honorable. That again, I cannot say. And about whether INEC has complied substantially remains in the hands of the tribunals to decide for us. It will be sub judice for me to come on here and be saying that INEC complied substantially. And for INEC, I want to support, I want to draw from what a learned senior has said right before now, that we may also begin to see INEC as coming forward to just give evidence and not be made a party. That also has its own difficulty, because even if it's not a party, everybody wants to appear as clean as possible. You want to show that you've done a good job of what you had. But INEC itself can be unbundled. What do I mean by that? I mean, they do everything now, from logistics, moving people around Nigeria as a whole, printing of the ballot. All that can be broken to other bodies and let INEC do the oversight of the election itself.
Okay, and not always reports.
Yeah. Those are the things I've drawn from that as well. So these are the things I think we should look at on how to make things better for us.
Okay, I think let's drop it there. Thank you so much for your time. Really.